Hello, MBAP 518 International Business students. This is Dr. Jaros with a video explanation for exam number 2. So let's get started here. Number 1, what kind of structure did Matsushita Corporation develop? Why did they develop this structure? Was it a help or a hindrance competing against Philips? Did any problems with it develop over time? Explain. Well, Matsushita developed what we call a global structure. Okay? A global structure is a structure in which the main core activities of the firm, headquarters, research and development, marketing, and production, are centralized, concentrated in a home country. And the way the company primarily does business globally is by establishing divisions and then exporting the product from the home country, in this case Japan, because Matsushita is a Japanese company, exporting products to countries around the world for sale. Matsushita developed this structure because they believed it would be the most cost-efficient kind of structure that they could put together at the time. Was it a help or a hindrance competing against Philips? It was a significant help. Philips's problem was that they had a decentralized corporate structure. They had facilities, production facilities, R&D facilities, marketing facilities. They had these facilities scattered in many countries around the globe, and they had a weak central headquarters, meaning that the various subsidiaries located in different countries around the globe were largely free to run their operations as they saw fit without a lot of guidance from headquarters. This created a lot of excessive costs because of the duplication of effort involved in setting up many different facilities in many different countries. So this gave Matsushita a big cost advantage over Philips. Did any problems develop with it over time? Absolutely. In the 1990s and 2000s, when confronted with even lower cost Chinese and Korean competitors, Matsushita found itself unable to compete as effectively on price. And this was because, number one, the centralized structure did not permit a lot of entrepreneurial initiative on the part of subsidiary managers in countries in locations around the world, and because Matsushita's corporate culture valued lifetime employment, which meant they were very unwilling to close down high-cost factories in Japan and move them to places like China, where labor costs were significantly less. All right, question number 2. What kind of foreign research and development facility is appropriate if a firm is seeking to tap into knowledge being generated in a foreign country? What is the job of the leader of such a facility? What kind of background or skills should they have? Well, this question came from the reading I assigned on different kinds of R&D facilities. The kind of foreign R&D facility that is referenced here in the question is what is called a home base augmenting facility. A home-based augmenting facility. The purpose of a home-based augmenting R&D facility is to draw in or collect knowledge that's being generated in a foreign country so that it can be transferred for use back to the company's headquarters. What is the job of a leader of such a facility? The job of a leader of such a facility is to establish the facility, get it up and running in the foreign country, and then develop and maintain close working relationships with universities, research laboratories, think tanks, and other such knowledge generating facilities that are already located in the foreign country. Okay. What kind of background or skills should the manager have or the leader of such a facility have? Well, more than anything else, they need to be a highly respected scientist. Because remember, the primary job here is to reach out to universities and research laboratories in that foreign country and develop scientific working relationships with them so that we can generate and capture new knowledge. The people who are running those universities or research labs or research facilities, they will not be impressed by someone with managerial skills. Those people are primarily scientists and researchers themselves, so they are going to be most willing to work with a fellow scientist, particularly one who is prestigious and highly regarded. So that's the main kind of background or skills that the leader should have. Of course, they should also have good managerial and people skills, but the main skill is that they should be a highly respected scientist. Question 3. Regarding the SK-II skincare line, what are the advantages and disadvantages of investing more in the Japanese market compared to entering the European market with this product? Well, there are some advantages to investing further in Japan. First of all, the product is already a proven quantity in Japan, meaning the SK-II line is already being sold in Japan and sold profitably. Okay, so whereas if we try to go to Europe, who knows whether European women are going to be impressed by or want to buy the SK-II cosmetics. Japanese women already have shown that they like the product. Also, there's plenty of room for further growth in Japan. As of the time of the case, the SK-II line only has about 1 to 2% of market share. So there definitely is a lot of room for growth in terms of generating more sales and more market share in Japan. However, there is a big disadvantage to investing more in Japan. Procter & Gamble, the parent company, the company that owns and produces SK-II, has set as one of their corporate goals the development of global brands. They want to take brands that have proven successful in a single market, like SK-II has in Japan, and they want to take that brand global and introduce it into areas in other parts of the world where the brand is unknown to try to grow global sales. Well, Europe is an example of a new market that would fit with that corporate strategy. Reinvesting in Japan and keeping it as a local Japanese brand would therefore not help the company achieve, its broader corporate goal and objective of developing global brands. That's not to say that there aren't difficulties with investing in Europe. We know the European market is saturated. It's a very difficult place to compete because there are highly established brands there, and it might be difficult for SK-II to break into the European market, but it would fit better with the corporate goals and objectives. Finally, according to research, what is the optimal level of foreign partner ownership percentage in a foreign domestic joint venture? For example, in a joint venture between a Japanese company and a Brazilian company in which the joint venture is operating in Brazil. Explain why you think this percentage might be optimal. Well, this comes from one of the articles that I assigned to you to read. And basically what the research shows is that the optimal level of foreign partner ownership percentage in a foreign domestic joint venture is basically around 30 to 40%. Okay? In other words, we want the foreign partner to own at least 30 or 40% of the joint venture. And why is this? Well, if they own 30 or 40%, the research shows that the mortality rate of the joint venture, meaning whether the joint venture is likely to survive, remain in business and be profitable, that's where it tends to peak. Okay, that's where it tends to peak. If the percentage is below 30 or 40%, then the mortality rate tends to be a lot higher, meaning the joint venture is more likely to fail. And the explanation for this is if the foreign partner only owns a small percentage of the joint venture, like say 10% or 20%, then they aren't going to be very invested in that joint venture in terms of making sure it survives. They don't have enough of a stake in the joint venture to really care about whether it survives or not. But once they own 30 or 40%, then they tend to care enough to make sure that the joint venture gets the management attention that it needs in order to be successful. Above 30 or 40%, it really doesn't matter. You can go up to 50, 60%, and the survivability of the joint venture doesn't change any. So 30 to 40% is the sweet spot there. Okay, that's my explanation for how I graded exam 2. I hope you found this helpful in terms of understanding the grade that you received on your exam.